no discharge in the war.
28 days later changed zombie movies forever. Full stop. It was raw, it was real, it was rage, and now over 2 decades later, the infection is back. 28 years later. But wait, Danny Boyle isn't done yet, folks. No. A sequel is already on the way, titled The Bone Temple. Yeah, let that sink in, because 28 years later is not a one-off, it's the start of an all-new trilogy. That's right, we're getting not 1, not 2, but 3 more trips into this brutal, blood-soaked apocalypse. And you better believe me that we're hearing whispers, legacy cast, shocking returns, and a new kind of horror. But let's get into it, because today we're breaking down everything we know about the Bone Temple, what Danny Boyle was teasing, and almost feral, blood-splattered theories for where the rage virus is going next. This is First Slash, 28 years later, the Bone Temple. Okay, so let's roll the tape on this franchise. The 28 days later saga began with Jim waking up in an empty London, a city torn apart by the rage virus. And honestly, the bloodthirsty infected were the least of his worries, as survival and dealing with morally questionable humans became the real horror. Then came 28 weeks later. The rage virus returned, faster, deadlier, and just when you thought it was contained, the final scene teased a horrifying truth. The infection had reached Paris. A global outbreak was coming. But hey, don't worry about all of that, because it's been retconned. The bloody French. And now we fast forward to 2025, and here we are. 28 years later is a true sequel that's not following the 28 weeks later ending. Instead of the virus tearing across the globe, Britain's been isolated for 28 years, with the infection largely contained within a single island. The rage virus is far from gone though, and a new generation of survivors have to come across the mainland to face its horrors. From alpha zombies to human zombie hybrid babies, and even a Jimmy Savile-inspired zombie killer cult. Yeah, you heard that right. But here's the real question. What happens next? Will we finally get closure on the virus's global spread? And how will the story evolve further? I mean, the story definitely doesn't feel complete, and there's no denying that Mr. Boyle has left the door wide open on purpose at this stage. Okay, deep breath, because things are getting real. We know Danny Boyle is back, right? The man who brought 28 days later to life, the shaky cam terror, the rage-infected dread, the bleak as hell London is back to the franchise that really made him a household name. But he's not alone. Alex Garland, the twisted genius who wrote the first 2 films, is back too, and together they're building a whole new trilogy. Not just 1 sequel, 3 films of rage. Both 28 years later and The Bone Temple were shot consecutively, ensuring continuity in storytelling and visual style. Boyle said they flirted with the idea for a long time, but it wasn't until they cracked a new direction that everything clicked. And we get this, each movie is designed to stand on its own, so even if you haven't seen Days or Weeks, you can jump in. But if you have, oh boy, the payoff's gonna be brutal. And nothing says that more than the fact that Cillian Murphy is officially back. Yes, Oppenheimer himself is returning in The Bone Temple. Boyle confirmed it himself, and he said it's not just a cameo, it's a full circle moment, 2 decades in the making. Oh, and Cillian returning, maybe, just maybe, it's the secret to locking in the 3rd film's funding, because yeah, every studio exec in the world is gonna want starring Oscar-winning actor on their movie's poster. But hey, just like the world of 28 days, 28 weeks? Wait, what do we call this franchise? The 28 franchise? Whatever. Not everything is as it first seems, as Danny Boyle actually isn't going to be directing The Bone Temple. He's stepping back just to produce and handing the director's chair over to Nia DaCosta. You know her from Candyman and, The Marvels. Oh god. But hey, with Garland still writing, the DNA of the franchise is very much still intact. Fingers crossed. So 28 years later just hit theatres, and of course us bloodthirsty horror freaks are already craving more. We're already feral for that next chapter. Fans have a lot to speculate about, and it's not just about who survives and who gets infected, it's about the bigger world building and deeper thematic elements. I think that the biggest thing driving fan discourse at the moment is Jim frickin' Murphy. Yeah, everyone's obviously super hyped to see Cillian Murphy return at some point in the Bone Temple. Fans are hoping that Jim comes back in a big way and leads the charge in the second chapter of this trilogy. But there's even a rumour floating around about a potential Jim versus Jimmy Crystal showdown. Now, if that name rings a bell, it should. He's the Teletubbies kid from 28 Years Later's prologue. He was running for his life, and now my new favourite actor and someone who's become somewhat of a scream queen, Jack O'Connell, I see you girl, plays Jimmy, the kid from the opening scene who flees from a zombie bloodbath. Years later, Jimmy's all grown up, now fully embracing the religious fervour of his father, as shown by the upside down crucifix placed in his hand right before his father was torn apart by the infected. So yeah, imagine this, Jim versus Jimmy. Survivor versus survivor. Two men scarred by the apocalypse battling out for the soul of its future. We're not saying it's confirmed, but also, if it doesn't happen, we'll just get Ralph Fiennes to hit me with one of those poison darts. I don't want to live in this world anymore. So what does all of this mean for next year's sequel, The Bone Temple? If 28 Years Later was about survival, reflection, and rejecting mindless violence, then The Bone Temple might go full on apocalypse cult. The title alone, it screams religious horror. We've seen the word Jimmy carved into the walls and into people, like he's writing the gospel of rage, one bloody sermon at a time. And then we've got Dr. Kelson's Mountain of Skulls, yeah, the literal Bone Temple. Some fans think this isn't just going to be a creepy set piece that was in the last movie, it's going to be Jimmy's stronghold, a sacred site where his unaffected followers worship death, sacrifice the weak, and turn survival into scripture. And here's the big question. Does the virus stay locked in Britain, or does the Bone Temple finally blow the doors off and infect the world? Some fans really do want that global outbreak. Paris, you had it coming. New York, Tokyo, the works. Others, me included, want closure and want it to stay UK based. But hey, would you want to see the story expand globally? That's what the comment section is for, and who knows, maybe you'll even feature in an upcoming video. Hey, you already know this is First Slash, and we're not just reporting the news, we're diving deep into speculative horror. So let's take a look at some of the wildest theories fans are throwing around, and even coming up with some of our own pitches for the sequel and the prequel. We've already talked about the Jim versus Jimmy showdown, and honestly this is easily one of my favourite potential directions for the Bone Temple. But let's not forget there's a whole world of survivors, infected, and all kinds of chaos out there for the filmmakers to dive into. The story possibilities are practically endless, and we've only just scratched the surface. The Alpha Infected evolution. Okay, first up, the infected aren't just rage monsters anymore. The Alpha Infected seen in 28 Years Later could be just the beginning. Fans think that the virus has mutated, and we might even see even more dangerous species of infected in the next film. Think even faster, smarter, and possibly even more human-like, no longer just running on pure rage. Remember that scene where Isla watches an infected give birth and then the infected reaches out to her? That's not just mindless rage, that's instinct, maybe even emotion. I mean, what if these things start learning how to properly communicate with one another? That would kind of change everything. Perhaps that would even start to worry the rest of the world, who's been pretty fucking rude and left us Brits to do it alone. What if we're heading into proper hybrid territory? Something that was also kind of teased in 28 Weeks Later. In some ways, it could be a reset, a reflection of a primal version of humanity. The horror potential here is absolutely off the chart. This could push the survivors into new, terrifying challenges and make the infected even more dangerous than ever before. Flashback to the Outbreak. With the rage virus ravaging the UK for decades, it's possible we'll get a flashback or a prequel style moment showing how it all began. 28 seconds later, 28 minutes later, you get the idea. Could we finally get a deeper dive into the early days of the outbreak? Or maybe even show how the virus was spreading through the mainland? It would be awesome to see the chaos and devastation unfold on a nationwide level. And this flashback idea also kinda links to Cillian Murphy's cameo, right? Fans are speculating that Jim's journey post 28 days later could be revealed in part 2. Where did he go? How did he survive? Did he ever get rescued? Maybe the Bone Temple gives us the answers. Baby Isla. Now let's talk about the baby, because yeah, something's seriously off about this. Born from an infected, showing no symptoms, yeah, this is all kinda strange and definitely needs addressing in the sequel. Honestly, it's all very similar to Alice and Andy from 28 Weeks Later, who carried the rage virus but showed no symptoms. What if baby Isla has inherited the virus but is somehow presenting as a human? Maybe she has a mutation that makes her immune to the outward effects of the infection, which could make her both a ticking time bomb and potentially the key to understanding the virus. She could hold the secret to how the virus evolves or how to cure it, all while appearing normal. I mean, imagine the chaos if factions start vying for control over her, either trying to protect her or exploit her for her own agenda. She could become central to the plot of the trilogy, and whether she stands as the key to humanity's survival or the next phase of the infection, the stakes would be massive. There's also a chance she's not actually immune at all, but possibly a new form of the virus, a hybrid infected who retains human traits, kinda like Alice and Andy did. If she grows into this special combination, she could act as a bridge between the infected and unaffected worlds. She could be the next step in the virus's evolution, and certain factions might see her as a powerful weapon. What if over time Isla's mutation leads her to display new abilities, or even the ability to control the infected? Starting as this innocent baby we saw, she could eventually become an unstoppable force, the first true hybrid, blurring the lines between humanity and infected and forcing everyone to question what it truly means to be human. Global perspectives. Okay, one thing I really want to see more of in this trilogy, the rest of the world. Now I know 28 Weeks Later gets some slack from moving away from that gritty UK-centric tone. Some fans hated the lack of British influence, and fair enough, but personally, I kinda loved it. It was fascinating to see how other countries were dealing with the rage virus. The way America handled things, yeah, very on brand, just nuking everything. Fast forward to 28 years later and we're getting little hints again, just enough to tease the wider world. Think those French ships spotted near the UK coastline, a group of Swedes washing ashore, and one of them even dropping details about what life's like outside the world. I love these little nuggets of world building. They make the world feel bigger, like the UK's quarantine isn't just a myth, it's a global issue. So here's what I would like to see in the Bone Temple or the final chapter. Maybe other nations start returning to the UK, not to help, but because of what they've heard. Rumours of infected showing extraordinary mutations, whispers of Isla, possibly the cure. Or maybe even the next phase of the infection. And hey, while we're at it, these don't need to be elite forces or researchers. Maybe we just get some idiots on the mainland. You know the type, influencers, vloggers, wannabe horror YouTubers crossing into the quarantine zone to film a spooky abandoned island video, clout chasing into a death trap, live streaming their own infection to a horrified global audience. Whether it's government survivors or some random kid with a GoPro, I'd love to see how more of the world views the UK post rage. Do they pity us? Do they fear us? Do they obsess over it? There's so much potential here. The virus may have started in Britain, but the whole world has been watching. Alright, horror junkies, now it's your turn. What's your take on where the 28 franchise goes next? Will Jim and Jimmy face off for control of a broken world? Or does the Bone Temple open the door to something even darker? Maybe you've got your own wild theories on the future of the Rage virus. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's hear what kind of chaos you think is coming, and like I said, the best theories, ideas and pictures may even be featured in an upcoming video. If you're vibing with our first Slash series, hit subscribe and stay locked in for more mind-bending theories, insane predictions, and all on horror madness right here on Oddly Horrific. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one, if you don't get infected.